Yeah, thanks for the games too, Melissa. You got me quite a few times. You crushed me, and then I beat Ali Reza. Like, what the hell? You're stronger than Ali Reza. Alright.
Yep. Oh, I just blundered a piece. Blundered a piece. My goodness. I'm in trouble, guys. So that is as soon as I played that, I was like, already. We'll come up with some counterplay. Kappa.
In this game, I'm playing white in an unrated game against Grandmaster Eric Hansen, who is live streaming the game on Twitch. We're playing with the time control 3-2. And as you will see, I get into some major time trouble later in the game, which is to be expected against a Grandmaster far above my level, especially with this time control. This was my first time playing a Grandmaster online, so I wasn't sure what to expect other than a challenging game ahead. I have played several GMs before over the board, but none in a rated setting. But I know they are excellent swindlers, which you will see in this game. Okay, so I start my game with knight f3, which is a very flexible move. Black has many options against this move, but I tend to go with my standard Reti setup and would love to play the king's Indian attack, which is my favourite opening as white. Eric plays d5, taking control of the centre with his pawn. I answer with g3, preparing bishop g2 and castle. Eric plays bishop g4 here, eyeing down towards my queen. Still a book move that I'm familiar with from before, so I simply continue with my idea. Bishop g2 followed by Eric's c6. Eric has a nice idea to place his pawns like this, denying my light squared bishop a lot of space on the diagonal. I continue with my plan and proceed to castle. There are some lines in the Reti where it might be a smart idea to push d3 early, but Eric hasn't gained a massive centre yet, so I'm not too worried about a move like e5 followed by e4 just yet. Eric plays knight d7, developing a piece. I push d3 with the idea of pushing e4, challenging the strong black centre. e5 from black, grabbing more of the centre and gaining more space. I'm not sure why I didn't play e4 straight away here, but I'm not afraid of e5, so I simply play knight c3 with the same idea as before. There's nothing yet to be worried about in this position. Eric continues with knight f6, developing a piece, and I answer with my plan e4. In 90% of the games I have had in this position, players usually push d4 to lock down the centre into a closed position. Eric doesn't do that and decides to take the pawn, resulting in a more open structure. I take back with the knight. Eric plays qc7 here. Not a very frightening move at first sight, but the queen is now eyeing down towards the h2 pawn and could naturally be a strong attacking piece for Eric should he decide to push the h-pawn towards my king side. h3 is the best move here, but I decided to play bishop e3, taking control of a few more squares and developing a piece. Eric plays h6. I follow with queen to d2, creating a battery towards the h-file. Eric plays knight to d5, placing the knight on a key square in the centre of the board. He's also attacking my bishop here, but that would result in a strong potential centre for me should he take it. And here I make my first big mistake and push c3. Notice that my knight has no escape squares if Eric pushes f5 here. Luckily for me, the Grandmaster was deep into techno land and goes for bishop e7, developing a piece and saving me from an early resignation. I continue to push d4, challenging the centre of the board with my pawns. Notice that this saves my knight somewhat with a flight square to c5 should Eric push f5 now. Once again, I've been granted some Irish luck and Eric goes for a kingside castle as well. I push h3, to chase away his annoying bishop. Eric moves a square back here, and I push g4. And finally, we have a solid, safe square for my little knight on e4. Now, it's always risky to push h3 and g4 when you've castled there, but this is one of the main ideas of the King's Indian attack, to try to pawn storm Black's king. Sadly for me here, the position is open and not locked, making it a lot more difficult to pursue my idea. Eric plays bishop g6 and saves his bishop. Now we're getting into the middle game, and I'm feeling like my pieces are awkwardly placed after a shaky opening. I decide to simplify a little by trading off some pieces, so knight takes e5, Eric takes back with his own knight, and I naturally take back with the pawn to not lose material and to force his queen to the middle of the board. Eric didn't want the pawn just yet though. He swings his rook over to d8 first, creating a very scary diagonal. My queen does not want to stand where she is right now, and I simply move her. Therefore I play queen to e2. Eric plays bishop takes e4, and I gladly accept the bishop pair. Eric plays queen takes e5, and I'm quite happy with my position here. I have a tactical motive here with the two bishops eyeing down towards the black king and my queen eyeing the unprotected black queen on e5. Sadly for me, nothing works just yet because black's bishop to d6 with mate threats. Therefore I decide to play bishop d4, gaining a very active bishop pair. This move also forces the black queen back again. I have some problems on the king's side with some awkwardly placed pawns, but I feel like the bishops overweigh that factor and we're in a pretty equal position. Eric plays queen c7. I follow with rook e1. Looking back, I would have preferred if I'd moved the other rook, but it's not a massive mistake or anything. I just feel like the rook on f1 is far better than its twin on a1. Eric plays knight f4, threatening my queen again, so I must move her. I choose the most active square, f3. Eric plays bishop to g4 here, which turns out to be a massive mistake. It's a very nice tactical move which uses the same idea as the position from before. I can either force the queen to move, or better yet win her with a simple offering. Bishop to e5. If Eric takes the bishop, then I have an excellent move with bishop h7 check, sacking the other bishop but with a discover on the queen. Black finds the best move here, which is surprisingly to take, and goes into the line where he trades the queen for two pieces. And he explains under his game that he would rather be a queen down for two pieces than a whole piece down. And Eric will shortly get some counterplay, which gets me into some terrible time trouble and a very difficult position to play as white with low time. Eric takes on e5. I play bishop h7 with check and win the queen after king takes h7 and rook takes e5. Eric plays knight g6 here, threatening my rook. Sadly, I'm not up a massive amount of material, so I can't just trade the rook for pieces just yet, so I simply play rook back to e1. Black starts an attack here and pushes f5. I take what seemingly looks like a free pawn with g takes f5. Eric replies with knight h4 with a fork on my pawn and queen. I choose to save the latter and move her to g4. If I were to choose again, I would probably move her to e4 with the idea of gaining a pin on the piece that captures the pawn. Eric takes back with the rook readying to swing the other rook behind and creating a scary diagonal towards my king side. I go into a short think. With only 40 seconds left on the clock, I decide to play the boring move, kf1. Eric swings the other rook over and it's looking to grab the pawn on f2 with check. I must prevent this, therefore I play rook e2. The Grandmaster here is going into tricky mode, and it's not easy to protect everything with the heavy pieces against the knight here. Eric plays knight to f3. I see the fork on h2 and play the first move I see that avoids disaster. King to g2. Eric plays the knight back to the same square and I repeat moves. This happens twice. At this point, I'm up by 3 points material-wise, but I'm in trouble time-wise. Eric doesn't seem interested in a draw, which is completely understandable considering the rating difference. Eric continues in move 32 with bishop h4, putting another eye on the weak f2 pawn. I finally see the idea that I can pin the rook and his king and go for queen e4. Eric simply moves the king out of the pin towards h8. I try to get my other pieces involved with rook d1. If I can stabilise the position and get my king to safety, I would have had a decent chance here. Eric plays bd8. This seemingly looks like a free piece after rook takes d8, and Eric has to take the rook back with his own. Sadly for me, Eric would have had a fork with a knight here on h4 should I finish what I thought was a killing tactic, which I sadly didn't see when I took the bishop on d8. Instead, I chose to go into an equal endgame, leading us into an anticlimactic ending to this game. Queen takes f3, followed by rook takes and king takes. After king takes f3, Eric would go on to win the equal endgame with some sneaky rook tactics. I'll play the endgame for you fast so you can see the rest of the game. And after move 52, there's no stopping the pawn on the h-file without losing my pawns on the queen side. And I trust the Grandmaster saw this. Right, I'd like to thank you for watching this far. If you enjoyed the Blitz game, I would appreciate a like on the video, and feel free to subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more games like this. And a special shout out to my friend Jessie February that encouraged me to make this video. This is also dedicated to her so she can master her Irish impression. Thanks again for watching. Have a good one.
GG, Melissa. That was the toughest game of the day. Don't know if she's a sub or not. The challenge came through. Yes, bishop e5 was a very clever move. The good thing that I had, lucky for me, my knight was really annoying. I'd rather have like 2 pieces versus a queen than be down a piece. So at least here it was tricky. It's easy to blunder as white. But yeah, this is a bit of a